record. All right, we are recording. So thank you for joining us tonight, fifth grade families. My name is Amy Kaler, and I am the principal or coordinator for Star Academy. And with me tonight, I have Scott Semple. If you want to just wave your hand.
Hi there.
Joel Fowler, Francesca Donato, and Kamvu. So our fifth grade team is here, and we'll go ahead and get started on the presentation. I'll share my screen. Okay, so welcome to the fifth grade hybrid plan presentation. I'm going to go through a couple slides just to review from the previous presentation I did about overall Star Academy and the transition to hybrid. Probably, I believe it was right at the end of October, which is still accessible on YouTube if you have further questions. We'll kind of do some of these highlights from that presentation, and then I will transfer it over to fifth grade to go into specifics. So as we've been planning for hybrid and the transition to hybrid, we've really been taking into consideration and prioritizing safety, consistency, and stability for our students. The steps we've been taking is the beginning of November is when we had signups for the different tracks, whether your preference was for A track, B track for hybrid, or extended distance learning for the remainder of the school year. Then we have been spending our time the last few weeks building the classes and ensuring that our siblings are on the same track and that we did the best possible to meet families' preferences. We will be confirming class assignments this Friday. So what teacher you will have for second semester, and then also if you'll be hybrid, what track you'll be on, or if you'll be on extended distance learning. The new class assignment will take effect as of January 4th as we transition into semester 2. That is when it begins. And then our start time for hybrid has gone into a rolling start time. January 4th does not seem like it's going to be happening given our region being in purple and the numbers going up. But as soon as the region, the greater Sacramento region, can go into red, orange, or yellow, we will transition within about a 2-week period to hybrid. So by doing all of this, we are set up and ready to go to make those changes in a quick and timely manner. Then this was gone into in detail on the previous presentation, which I will also link, but overall, we are trying to build a supportive hybrid model for all of our students and our staff to be successful. So with that, we are creating hybrid teachers that will focus strictly with our hybrid students. And then we will have a distance learning teacher who will be working with the students who are virtual. And we also hired a distance learning facilitator to help support students on their virtual days and then also with learning hubs. But once again, our main focus is to provide a supportive environment where students can be the most successful, whether they're in person or virtual, and ensuring the safety and stability for our students and staff. Then for consistency, as we transition to hybrid, this is what fifth grade will go into a little bit more specifically for the grade level, but extended distance learning will look very much like what it does now. For hybrid students, when they are coming into the classroom, we're really trying to prioritize that in-person time and maximizing interactions with others in relationships and the social emotional needs of students. So those will be low tech to no tech days. And then the rest of this, I'll let fifth grade go into what whole group instruction, independent practice, and office hours will look like for both of the models. And then our daily schedule for hybrid will be pretty much identical to what we have now. The main change is going to be the soft start from 8:10 to 8:30. This is where the students will be dropped off and come in and go directly to their classroom, and they'll be seated in their area and working on a task until school actually starts at 8:30. But that allows us to spread out students so we don't have this mass group of students trying to get on campus, which would make it hard to have the social distancing. So now I'm going to turn it over to fifth grade and they will go ahead and let you know what the details are for the grade level.
Hi everyone, welcome. So as that previous slide, Mr. Fowler and I will be the hybrid learning teachers. Mr. Semple will be the distance learning teacher, and then the distance learning facilitator will be Ms. Jara. She's currently the IA in my class, so a couple of students are already familiar with her. So this will be the team when we come back for hybrid.
And hey everybody, I'm Joel Fowler, Mr. Fowler, like Mr. Vu and Ms. Kaler introduced, but I'm going to talk about a little bit now what in-person hybrid days are going to look like. So whether you're on track A or track B, when you're coming to school, students will make sure to have their materials with them. The most important of which will be their distance learning binder. Students will get a pencil box for all their school supplies, and then probably like a favorite independent reading book or something like that. And then as Ms. Kaler introduced, students will head directly into the classroom, and that's where we'll have some kind of a soft start morning meeting thing, kind of similar to what we're doing now, a check-in. Hey, how are you? How did this lesson go? What's going on in your life? Little things like that, share out questions. Actually, in the classroom, if you were to see our classrooms right now, the desks are all spread apart 6 feet, and we'll be doing all of the recommended safety protocols with hand washing and hand sanitizer inside and outside. And then we'll be doing our day instruction wise, kind of exactly the same way that distance learning is scheduled right now. So we'll be doing the same exact time blocks for ELA. It'll just be, if you're a hybrid student and you're with me and Mr. Vu, it'll just be in person, right? So we'll be physically going over things. We'll make sure we're being as safe as possible. But like Ms. Kaler was saying as well, it'll be low tech, and we'll get to interact with paper, pencil, like back in the good old days. And then we'll have our pickup. We'll walk students out to school, out to the curb to be picked up. And then from 1:30 to 3, kind of like it is right now, there will be office hours where students will be able to check in with either me, Mr. Vu, Mr. Semple, and then Ms. Jara. Ms. Jara will also have her own office hours, and then independent work time right there. So when students, basically with our 2 different tracks, we're going to have an A track and a B track. And whether you are at home or in person, the lesson progression will be exactly the same. So the way that it kind of works is there typically in a regular week, there are 4 days of instruction. So day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. Day 1 is usually the heaviest day of direct instruction. And then it kind of tapers off to guided instruction over days 2 and 3, and then a little bit of independent work on day number 4. And so whether you're on track A or at home doing a virtual day, you will still be doing that specific day's worth of instruction. So it'll be exactly the same whether you at home or in person. The only difference is that if it is not your track day to be in person, then instead of being with the hybrid teacher, you're going to be with the distance learning teacher, who is Mr. Semple. But again, the content will be exactly the same, and me, Mr. Vu, and Mr. Semple are super coordinated on everything. So we're making sure to check in on certain teaching points and reflecting back on it, but it'll be the same exact instruction. So it's kind of summarized right there. A lot of reading, but that's essentially it. The days will start with our soft start. Students can come to office hours with their hybrid teacher and also be able to check in on Ms. Jara, and then those conversations will be ongoing.
So for the extended distance learning, it's going to be pretty similar to what we're doing currently. And just like Mr. Fowler said, we are trying to mirror what is happening in the hybrid class, in the actual classroom, to what's happening during distance learning, so that we all are moving ahead together, but then also so those kids on the B track, they can come to my class on Mondays and Tuesdays. And then when they show up in Mr. Vu or Mr. Fowler's class on Thursday, they're right where everybody else is. And likewise, those A track kids will be with me on Mondays and Tuesdays, or with Mr. Fowler and Mr. Vu on Monday or Tuesday, and then with me on Thursday. And we should be able to pick up right where everyone left off. And as again, Mr. Fowler noted, we do remain in contact constantly about what's happening in the classroom and how we'll be teaching items. You can see on this slide, again, the students will be engaging in live direct instruction with me. Then they'll also have opportunities to work independently, and then circling back to work with me in small groups or meeting up in office hours. And additionally, we want to make sure that all students have access to all teachers. So during office hours, if a student is with me for distance learning, but they also have Mr. Vu or Mr. Fowler for hybrid learning, they can pop over to Mr. Vu or Mr. Fowler's office hours any day so that we can all stay connected and a good learning community. Once again, as was noted before, Ms. Jarrah will be helping out as the distance learning facilitator. So it's like a team teaching situation. So I'll be pushing out the instruction just like Mr. Vu and Fowler. And then throughout the day, students can speak with me about the problems they're working on, or they can also speak with Ms. Jarrah. And like we've already said, we want to continue to monitor how things are going. And, Mr. Vu, Mr. Fowler, and I check in all the time on, well, how's this lesson going? Should we pause this? Should we push forward with that? So that we can help students move forward together, and no one feels like, oh, well, they're working on something different than these kids are working on. The idea is to keep it simple and make sure that everybody is feeling like they have the same opportunities. Oh, I think you're on mute, Mr. Vu.
And just unmute really quickly. So social and emotional support is going to be important as we make this transition to hybrid learning. One of the great things about this group of students is that last year they got to experience the switching of teachers. So our hope is that they will bring this experience with them as we move into hybrid learning. And typically in a conventional year, the students would be moving between all three classes in preparation for their transition to middle school. But we really want to make sure that we support their social and emotional needs since this isn't a conventional year. And here are a few things that we'll be implementing as we transition. So as a grade level, we've discussed that consistency is going to be the most important thing. Aside from the switching of teachers and distance versus being in person, between all three classes, everything is going to look the same. The content, the slides, and the schedule will look exactly the same, so that students will continue to have the same experience they did before they left for break. And a few weeks ago, we had a virtual event on Veterans Day as a whole grade level, and you could see the students were super excited to see their friends. So we are hoping also to have more virtual events that bring all the classes together in the second half of the school year and throughout, so that students get more opportunities to connect and build community. We will also be treating the first week we come back in January like we would the first week of school. STAR is a tight-knit community, and for the most part, the students know each other. But it's also important that we find some time for the students to transition back into the classroom with some social activities. So we'll be doing a lot of day one getting to know you activities, and the soft start will really help with the morning meetings and making them longer so that we can get students to transition back in to the classroom. And if they're getting a new teacher, getting them used to the routines and the procedures. In addition, for the first few weeks, all of our office hours will be open to all students. So students who were previously in our homerooms before the transition will be able to use this time to connect with their previous teacher and get support, and then eventually it'll taper off to just their specific teacher. And last but not least, Mrs. Hines will continue to be available and support students by giving them SEL strategies as we navigate hybrid learning. So we're gonna do our best. We're gonna try our best to make sure that we support the students socially and emotionally as they transition. And Mrs. Kaler, this last part, do you want me to go over this or?
Yeah, you can go through it.
Okay. So this is basically to kind of summarize everything that we've talked about. Coming and leaving a school, there's going to be staggered drop off and dismissal times. There's going to be designated routes for coming in and going out, and all of that information will be sent out to everyone. Face coverings, they are going to be required for TK through 5th grade and for any visitors that come on campus, as well as all the staff on campus. As far as recess and breaks, so the classroom teachers will have recess just with their classroom. The students will not be mingling, and hand washing and sanitizing are going to be routines that we focus heavily on for the students who are at school. There will be hand washing stations and sanitizers all around the classroom and around campus. And we are going to follow all the COVID protocols on campus as well. As far as screening procedures go, Mrs. Kaler, is there a different screening procedure when the students come to school? Are we going to screen them in the beginning?
No, so the county health directions are that at this time they're asking all families and staff to screen at home. So there's a cheat sheet, I guess I would say, that will be sent out to families and that we ask you to do, but there will not be any temperature checks or anything else. But we do ask if your child has any illness type thing to sit it out. When in doubt, sit it out. And they can go into the virtual format for that day or the couple days. And if your child comes to school and we find out that they have symptoms of some sort of being ill, they will go into an isolation room and then parents will be called to come pick them up.
Thank you. And lunches at STAR is going to be by grade level. The tables outside are going to be used, but depending on the weather, they will either eat outside or eat inside the classroom. So those are all of the safety protocols and things that we'll have in place when they come back to the school.
All right. And I'm going to exit out of this part. So now we'll go into questions. Let's see what kind of questions.
So it looks like the questions are about the distance learning teacher. It's a little easier probably for the staff to read that in chat if we can get clarification on what that would look like.
Yeah, so Aaron, I'm gonna, and Mr. Semple and Mr. Fowler will chime in as well. So how this will look like is, yes, Mr. Fowler and I will have 16 kids. The kids who are not at school but have elected to be on hybrid, they will go to Mr. Semple for that day. They will receive a portion of instruction, like the whole group instruction, and then the distance learning facilitator will then take some of those kids so that Mr. Semple will then only have 32 kids, and she will support those kids in her own Zoom. So it's kind of like having 4 teachers.
So kind of, imagine the ELA lesson, we would do the direct instruction piece. I would teach, check for understanding, and then we would kind of do like a 2 big breakout rooms where I might have, like Mr. Vu said, 32 kids, and then there would be another 32 students with Ms. Jara, and we would be continuing to communicate.
So as far as the next question regarding siblings, this is part of the process that Mrs. Kaler and the office staff are going through now, verifying that students' siblings are on the same class schedule, whether that's track A or track B. Lunch is 20 minutes like it has previously been 20 minutes, and they will have assigned areas outside per grade level. If there's inclement weather, they will be eating in the classrooms. And at this point, what Ms. Kaler, if you can address, if you are already committed to distance learning, or whatever you put in is you have locked in for the remainder of the school year regarding that?
Correct. The decision, when you made the sign up that first week of November, you are committed for the second semester. So that will go January 4th until June 11th. Whatever you signed up for is what you will be in that whole time. We don't have the ability to go in and out of that because we have allotted teachers, the staffing, the appropriate staffing based on the numbers. The only time that maybe that could be overridden is if there's an extreme circumstance, like a change in a job or an extreme medical circumstance, then we would work with you on an individual basis. But otherwise, we won't be going in and out of those two models.
So if hybrid does not start on January 4th, you will still have your new class assignment. So if you were if you had Mr. Vu and he was your hybrid teacher, he would still be your new hybrid teacher potentially, or your hybrid teacher, and it would be distance learning for the entire school. Correct, Mrs. Kaler?
Yeah, that did, the way you said it was confusing to me.
All right.
So, any teacher, so when you get this Friday, all families will get their teacher assignment and what track they're on. Keep in mind that hybrid right now is on a rolling timeline. It's going to be dependent on the region's health order of where we're at. So currently we're in purple. When we switch to red, orange, or yellow, we'll be able to open up the school to have hybrid. And at that time, then it'll be about a 2-week transition between it. So as soon as the county, well, region, sorry, I should use the word region. As soon as the Sacramento region is seen that they're able to move into red, it's about a 2-week time for the region to be able to do that. They have to hold the numbers for a certain period of time. And so in that time, by already transitioning the teachers now, this will allow us to make that adjustment within 2 weeks. So what will happen is you're going to get those assignments this Friday. Whatever teacher you're assigned to will be your teacher starting January 4th. And if we are not able to move into hybrid on January 4th, that teacher that you're assigned to will just be doing distance learning for your child. They'll still be with that person though. Does that make sense? I think that answered it. What else is on here?
Mr. Simple, can you address with your distance learning class if there are times that they will transition to the distance learning facilitator as well as be with you?
Oh, I thought you could see my my chat too. Yeah, so obviously, the distance learning students that are on my roster, would be with me, but depending on how the lesson goes and what the new needs of the students are, they might kind of shift over. So if a student understands what we're working on and they get it, and they're just doing guided practice and they want to have that adult there to help them with any questions that come up, they might transfer over to Miss Jera, and then the remaining students would stay with me. So, but again, that this is not like a closed door. Like once you leave, it's all open and students are free to go between the two, and we just trying to provide the best support possible. So obviously, and that comes back to me if I feel like Mr. Fowler needs a little extra help, I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Fowler, you're going to, everybody, whatever, 1 through 32, you stay with me and then everybody else can go. Does that kind of answer the question?
All right, does anybody else have any other questions? All right, well, I want to say that if any of you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us. If you are concerned about how your child's doing in that social emotional aspect, Ms. Hines is also a great resource as we make these transitions and the new teacher. She has articles, resources. She's happy to meet with a family. She's happy to meet with your child. The rest of the 5th grade team, Mrs. Donato and myself, are always here to answer questions too. So please just reach out if you have questions or concerns on anything. We appreciate all that you guys are doing to help support your student and the grade level in the school overall. This year, really more than any other year, is taking the team effort of all of us working together, and we are here for you. but you just have to reach out if you need something, if you're not getting some need met, okay? And then on Friday, you will be receiving your child's class assignment for semester 2, which will start as of January 4th. I will also include this recording. I will include the October recording where it actually goes into specifics about our model and why we're doing the model that we're doing for hybrid. And then it will include the presentation for today. So with that, have a wonderful evening and thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.